Just doing some warm-up drills. First one, we're gonna start with the easy one. Just using Brian's body to hip escape. So no feet on the floors, we straighten our legs, lift our hip, which now lets us start turning onto our side. The foot I can see stays where it's at. The foot I don't see sneaks inside and makes a little hook on Brian's ribs. You can put your foot on hip as well. Here, just as like a little test, have your partner just put a little forward pressure. You should be able to hold them off without much effort. Now we'll recover back to closed guard. Why is it important not to put the feet on the floor? Is I feel when I do this, my weight's still holding his legs still. As soon as I go here, it's really easy for a guy to get a knee up in the middle. And now we've really lost the initiative on the game. So it's one of those small things that you see, especially early on in jiu-jitsu, you're fighting. I want to open my guard and I do this, and now Brian's already collapsing that space. So this time, we're gonna hug the head, hug the wrist. We lift our hip. As we drop, we punch the hand into his butt. Come on in, Miss Darcy. So we go up, down, trap, switch sides. Up. As you drop, don't let it like hit the floor and then try to push. It's that mid-air that lets you push the hand. You don't have to like crank on their head, just kind of hug on it. Trap. Trap. A great thing, especially for newer people, when people want to like dig their elbow into your leg here, it's like a real classic little set. So, if I feel them driving the elbow in, I'm gonna go same side, collar grip with the opposite hand. Here I'm just pulling. Here, we're gonna just control the wrist. We're pulling in with our knees as they're coming. Now I'm gonna punch in and shoot over top. Super easy, right? So anytime you feel them digging here, you gave me the triangle. Now better guys aren't gonna make it that easy, right? So we have to kind of figure out different strategies. Yeah, like they're often gonna be holding here. So here, if like they're not giving it to me so readily available, one thing I think of is their elbow position. If their elbow's in, that's when I can attack my armbar. So a lot of times, as I start like trying to control the arm, they flare their elbow. Now I think triangle. So I lift my hip. I don't grab the material because it slides too much. I grab the actual wrist, thumb down. I lift my hip. As I drop my hip, I punch in and go over the top. From here, now we can start working into all of our different finishes. You can also use it, say I break Rich's posture down. So boom, we're here. Now I can hug like the back of the head. As Rich tries the posture, I control his wrist, I make him fight a little bit. When he's too close, I'll stay up for a second. When he's too close, everything's too jumbled in there, right? So I like let him fight, let him fight. Now I kind of lift my head, punch, and go. From here, especially like sometimes the hand's still gonna be there a little bit. Doesn't matter. The hand there is just extra stuff for him to choke on. If he's able to like punch his arm all the way back in there, forward, yeah, which is difficult, right? Yeah. So sometimes I see guys like, oh no, that hand's there. I'm gonna abandon my triangle. No, who cares that the hand's there? They're usually gonna pull it out because as you start tightening it, their own hand's like in their throat. If you like having your foot on the hip, you can use that as like a little advantage. You break them down. We're fighting here. This lets you like already be elevated, so never a bad option. Same, or come, pulling in. Really, as we break this grip, don't just try to reach to the sky. That's gonna help break. So start pulling Brian in. I trap. I start to escape to the side, and if you need to put your foot on the floor to help you, that's fine. You can put your foot on his hip as well. We just keep shifting to the side. Now we're here. Okay. So we're keeping our head close. One thing I like to do, especially when they're like working real hard to posture again, is like put my head on top of their head. So now when they try to posture, they're carrying my weight. It starts to get their body tired. And notice what Brian did. He put his hand on the floor to help lift his body. So I'm here nice and tight. Usually at this stage, the arm that's controlling here, I like to reach all the way far to their armpit. If you can make a grip, great. If you just cup, equally good. What this does though, is it kind of closes this little hole and makes it really hard for Brian to pull his arm out. Try to pull the arm out. It's my arm. Sometimes when I'm here, if I'm a little lazy with my elbow, he might sneak his hand back to the inside. Yeah, so I feel reaching far just kind of closes that distance. So I'm here nice and tight. I also like this grip because it lets me now start bringing my chest away a little bit. So when I feel Brian trying to posture, I reach for the far arm and I bring my chest away. I'm holding here so Brian can get his head up a certain amount, but only so far. If I'm here, I find it, it's easier for him to stretch. Here, I can stay with him just by having that far grip. So as Brian starts to go, I'm gonna start to push his arm. I'm gonna use this foot to start coming high, and I bring this knee into my chest. Now, if you're real flexible, you can just get your leg through. Sometimes you're gonna have to now kick. And I reach up and grab right here. Now I'm gonna lock my ankles for now. You'll see people try it from here, real flat on their back. And there's just no room, right? So we have to create these angles. We're holding here, Brian's trying to posture. Now we're ready to go. This motion's always like troublesome. People try to pull the leg out, but you gotta really come close to your face to kick over. Now, from here, that same little motion we talked about last week of moving our hips. We have the option of coming to the inside here. Now we could start scissor sweeps. I often like to go over this arm though. So I turn on my side, my knee comes over. As I go, I don't want to go on his shoulder. I want to go right at like the bend of the elbow. I start to push in. Now, to get this hand out of the way, I do a couple things. I pull, I push with my knee, and then I straighten my leg, pulling them all the way in. I use this foot to help start creating the angle right away. You can come here. If Tristan tries to like grab my collar and stack me here, I bring my arm to the inside and I bump my hip. That's gonna make it hard for him to make that grip and start squashing me. You can also, if you catch it on your ear here, you can attack that arm lock there as well when they're going with that. If they ever stand up and you can reach the leg on the non-tracked arm side, I'm gonna release. Always pull yourself into it. Never a bad option. Also stops a guy from picking you up and slamming. Also makes it easy to get that angle. Right now I don't want to strangle Tristan. So lots of different ways to get there, right? We can use the setup we worked today. Hard the cup. And we get here. Alright, so first thing is, some of you guys have heard me talk about this before. I feel the first mistake people tend to do is try to lock like a full triangle right away. All this shoulder space in there, we tend to just burn out your legs. So we're just gonna lock our legs, pinch our legs. Here, I'm like thinking of kind of stepping on their, with my heel into their back a little bit. I don't like to float, just here, pinch. Now, we wanna start moving this arm as our first option. We have a couple ways to go about it. I can lift my hip and start getting my hands behind the tricep and help across. I can also sneak inside here. So I was over the top, I come from underneath, and I'm gonna clasp together. Yeah. And if he keeps his arm on that side, there's a little arm bar, so they start to move it for you. One thing, whenever you find yourself in this middle ground, his elbow's on your chest, raising your hip helps you get it across. Good. Now we're gonna go for a really simple way to finish first. My left hand's gonna grab my right ankle. Some people like to grab underneath. I feel when I go to lock the triangle, it kind of blocks where I wanna go. So I kind of go high on the shin and just grab here, nice. I pull my calf up, but not so much that I'm like tweaking my knee. You wanna be comfortable. Now, we wanna create an angle. This foot goes on the hip, and I wanna keep my knee close to the sole of my foot, not out flare. I'm gonna start changing the angle. We did a drill last week where we talked about this. trying to keep my shoulders on the floor, but moving my head this direction. Where we tend to have a mistake is we push our butt out and we give him an opening to leave. So think about, this has to stay flat across the back of Brian's neck to keep his posture. Now from here, I'm gonna bring my knee in like a tight pinch. Notice how my legs are kind of on like one line. I don't want my legs at like different angles. I want them, so I pinch, now I can lock. There's no shoulder over here, sorry Brian. You shouldn't be able to see any shoulder over here. If you're seeing a bunch of shoulder, it's not tight enough. So we're here. Now I push away with this leg into his hamstring. My calf chops down, and this one stomps to the floor. And those three actions get a very strong triangle. If you're having trouble doing that angle, here's another little trick. I'm gonna grab my ankle, and I'm gonna push my knee, and this foot, I'm gonna move myself backwards. Here I can lock it as well. All right, bro. Push your knee away though. A lot of times when we try to do this, I feel like the knee kind of moves, so I push it into his shoulder. Also, if Brian tries to push into me and stack me, that helps hold him away. I can lock it. And finish right there.
Let's go, 1, 2.